Earlier I spoke with journalist and filmmaker Max Blumenthal, whose documentary Killing Gaza highlights the plight of those living in the Strip. I started by asking him why he believes the Israeli response was disproportionate. Max Blumenthal, thanks for your time today. You say the Israel response this week has been disproportionate. In what way?
Well, it's not that it's just been disproportionate. It's been lethal against protesters who were largely unarmed. These protesters were shot not just in their extremities, but there was a shoot-to-kill policy, which I've actually personally witnessed in some occasions covering Israel-Palestine on the ground. I mean, these are snipers using laser range finders on some of the most advanced sniper rifles in the world. Journalists like Yasser Murtaja, who was one of the most prominent journalists in the Gaza Strip, were shot in the stomach wearing press vests marked press. And so we saw a lethal policy put into place to enforce an illegal siege and an illegal occupation. 58 people were killed in one day in what can only be described as a massacre.
I mean, Hamas doesn't think Israel should exist. From that point of view, do you understand why Israel takes a hardline approach, even though you say obviously they go too far?
Well, let's definitely look at the egg and the chicken. Let's put this in historical context. I mean, the Gaza Strip, most of the people there are refugees. They're not allowed back into Israel where their homes and their property were. They've been there confined for 70 years, and they can't return because they're not Jewish. They don't fit into the Jewish state. So basically, the Gaza Strip's been transformed into a human warehouse. Some people would even call it an open-air prison. Most of the people I met there can never leave. And then you have the fact that the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, in 1988 did recognize Israel's right to exist, and Hamas's leadership under Khalid Mishal, the former head of the Politburo, declared his intention to negotiate with Israel over 1967 borders. Israel didn't want to negotiate with the PLO, so it helped create Hamas. It actually funneled money into Hamas and allowed them to organize while cracking down on the PLO and Fatah. And then it proceeded to put Gaza under siege when Hamas won power and refuses to negotiate over 67 borders, as we've seen with Netanyahu welcoming the opening of a U.S. embassy under Donald Trump in Jerusalem, which puts the final nail in the coffin of the two-state solution. So what options do Palestinians have? And if we don't respect them when they're doing these protests, what option do we leave them?
From just purely, though, I suppose, an operational sense, because, I mean, you mentioned that they're getting shot. In many cases, they were armed with rocks and slingshots. That's it. But a lot of tyre fires as well. The claims from the Israelis was that this can be a bit of a distraction and people can, militants can get through fences. Do you concede that's a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, Israel is introducing this kind of spin that everyone in the Gaza Strip is just so violent, that they're these terrorist savages, that even if they get out of this warehouse that they've been kept in, they won't go and just rampantly murder Israelis. 20% of the Israeli population are Palestinians who are citizens of Israel, and they generally live peacefully within Israel. 300,000 Palestinians live in Jerusalem, live among Jewish Israelis. So this is just kind of, it's a spin designed to scare people about the population of Gaza. I've gotten to meet the people in Gaza, and by and large, all they want is the freedoms that you and I enjoy. They've been denied that. That's why they're doing these protests, and we have to ask ourselves, why would young people be so desperate as to throw themselves into a hail of bullets, knowing that they might die? They're trying to send a message to the world, and they're calling on us to mete out consequences to Israel so that it will be forced to give them the freedoms it's denied them for 70 years. We're talking about the basic freedom of movement. We're talking about the freedom of young people who have scholarships abroad to leave, who cannot leave. We're talking about the right to have clean water, which 97% of the Gaza Strip doesn't have. We're talking about the right to have housing, which hundreds of thousands of people have been denied through one war after another. The freedom from fear, which no one in the Gaza Strip is free from. This is what they're demanding.
Well, I'm sure a few people will be clicking on that link there and seeing your latest work, Max. Thanks very much for your time today on Sky News.
That's killinggaza.com. Thank you.